we tend to not intervene until somebody's in crisis, right? There's a lot of time between either trauma, childhood trauma, prolonged stress, whatever it is, and crisis. What are the biggest issues for compliance, right? Or getting help in the first place. It's stigma, it's attribution, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, but then also the fear of living trauma. Learned a long time ago, and this isn't always shared in military leadership, but I believe in leading through, transparency, vulnerability, and predictability. I think if we can separate the stigma of it being like we're not good enough, we're not strong enough, whatever, and just truly treat it as a physiology and part of the human experience, like let's get rid of the stigma. We don't need more awareness of mental illness, right? Like we don't need to be. We know it's here. It's brutally in our face everywhere we look. We don't need more awareness. We need more compassion, more realization of what it really is, which is. It's part of being human, and it's physiological. We can impact that. At the end of the day, we're just trying to get ourselves out of chronic stress.
Yeah.
And so, if you can get out of that, your immune system goes into remission, and you start healing.
Hey there! Welcome to the Peakality Podcast, your new favorite spot for unlocking the best version of yourself. Ready to level up your life? We've got you. We're all about blending technology with human wisdom and the drive to be better, personally and professionally. Each week, we dig into the real stuff, strategies, tools, and mindsets that cut through the noise and help you thrive. No fluff, just practical insights from experts, thought leaders, and people who've been there, done that. And we're here to break it all down into easy steps. Whether you're kicking off a fresh start or physicians seeking to inspire your patients, we've got stories, tips, and tricks to inspire growth in each area of life. Your peak potential is calling, starting right now. Hit subscribe, join our crew, and let's move forward today. Today, we're joined by a leader who's reshaping the future of trauma care. John Schmitt is CEO of iExpressGenes, a biotechnology company revolutionizing trauma detection and prevention. Their Trauma Autoimmune Indicator, or TAI test, is a breakthrough technology that allows healthcare providers to detect trauma-induced diseases like PTSD before symptoms even appear. John is a 20-year Army veteran, Black Hawk helicopter pilot, a former assistant professor at West Point, and has served in leadership roles in science, technology, and major defense acquisition programs. He also holds a master's degree in microbiology and immunology from Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. His life work is a fusion of service, science, and leadership. Let's welcome John. Really grateful for you doing this today, and I know that I'm excited to learn more about you and dive into this. So I sincerely appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for making the time. This is fun. You excited?
Hey. So just, diving in, I mean, you've worn many hats, from combat leader to professor, scientist, and now CEO of a biotech company. Can we just start off by sharing your journey and how those experiences prepared you for this mission that you have now? Sounds very weird and very eclectic, to say the least.
Yes, I grew up in San Francisco East Bay, and all the foundation of my morals, values, and ethics all came from the 90s punk rock scene. So I really, as the foundation of my entire life, was all kind of on the streets of Berkeley and Oakland. And nobody thought I'd ever join the Army, but I did. And doing ROTC, I did ROTC. I needed the money for college. I always say that people are always like, thank you for your service and all that. But, I joined when we were at peace, and I think, I did it for, at the time, the money, I needed to pay for college. Obviously, service is really, really important to me. But, at the time, when I think about the people who have applied their intellect, their time, their energy, even outside of uniform towards the last 20 years of national security, it wasn't hard for me to join the military, right? It was out of necessity. And so I always like to say, I think there's other people that need more thanks than me. So I got a degree in biology and then, UC Davis. And then, I commissioned as a second lieutenant in the aviation branch. So I was a Black Hawk pilot, did a couple tours in Iraq, and then, ended up going back to school. And I needed to get a degree to go teach at West Point. And literally, it was I had a very tight window to decide on a program, and there's not a lot of programs offering masters, which is what I needed to get. And so I found his program at Vanderbilt in microbiology and immunology. I literally didn't know how to spell immunology at the time, and so I never really intended to use it or thought that it was ever going to be applicable, but I enjoyed it, and it was interesting a couple of years. And then I went and taught chemistry at West Point. And from there, I moved to Huntsville. That's where I became an acquisition corps officer. So spent a lot of time doing weapon system development, mostly in aviation and missile. But if you think about the technology that goes behind a missile, it's optics, it's materials, it's energetics, it's models and sim, it's material science. It really does cover a whole bunch. So when I got to be the number 2 guy at the Army's largest lab, kind of a Cinderella story for another time, but that was awesome. But to be able to see really from basic research all the way through until, full scale production and fielding of major weapon systems, and kind of having that experience over those 10 years, I think it really kind of set me up for where we are today, with our company. And, my team likes to refer to it as kind of the Slumdog Millionaire story, right? Like none of these things were intentional. None of these things were to build out, where the experience to be where I am today. But really it's been the perfect mix of opportunity and luck and timing, to set us up to build iExpressGenes.
Yeah. So tell us about iExpressGenes and what exactly you're doing and what exactly it does.
Yeah. So let me just kind of take it back a step. So we're in crisis, mental health crisis, as you know. We've 40% increase in suicide since the year 2000. We've got mental health illnesses, diagnoses, doubling in the last 25 years. We're solving the wrong problem. I think everybody's scrambling to figure out what that right problem is. What we've realized, and where a lot of academic literature is kind of, culminating as well, is, we develop an autoimmune disorder against our own stress. Right. So from a very high level, that's kind of it. So, when you think about stress, think about it in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The lizard brain, like disconnect the higher minded thinking and I'm tough and I'm whatever. Your lizard brain protects you from violations of, the scarcity of food, water, security, shelter, and safety, right? So anytime you're violating those, your brain goes into fight or flight. So now you find yourself in a, high pressure job or just living in modern society, and the amount of stress we have is pretty chronic. We're only meant to be in sympathetic nervous system engagement for a very short period of time as we ran away from a bear or, avoided fire or whatever, but we live in it for so much of our lives now. So now we have this autoimmune disorder that now is creating inflammation and oxidative stress throughout our body. And that's what explains, people always go like, oh, when I'm, the stress is killing me. It's like literally your body's flooded with oxidative stress and inflammation, and it's causing all sorts of comorbid diseases. It's not a coincidence that, every single code of the ICD-10 has higher incidence among folks with trauma, right? From Crohn's disease to lupus, MS, ALS, rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, literally all disease has a higher prevalence in those with trauma. But then let's talk about when it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So now your body's like flooded with oxidative stress and inflammation, and your brain does a really good job of keeping it out through the blood-brain barrier. But slowly over time, it's going to build. And now you start creating that cognitive dysfunction. And what we see of is maybe, neurovascular decoupling, but also, reduction in just cognitive ability. And that we see it develop in terms of anxiety and depression. And what we think of as kind of the hallmarks of PTSD. So let's back up. We live in stress. We have chronic stress, or your job is stressful, or you have traumatic events that you perseverate on, and your brain is doing exactly what it was supposed to do by protecting you, but you remain in sympathetic nervous system engagement and fight or flight. So you start accumulating all of this inflammation. That leads to the cognitive behavioral stuff plus the physical stuff. So we've developed a test that detects that inflammation potentially years before symptoms ever occur. And if we can change the whole narrative from it being the brain not being attached to the body to being, let's treat the physiology, we can really get ahead of the mental health crisis, we believe. So that's what we've done. We've developed a test that's...
Okay. So several questions. First, you're associating the trauma levels and how that's physiologically affecting an individual. And then that physiological effects from the trauma, from the stress, then translates into disease.
Yes.
Am I understanding that correlation correctly?
Yes. Yeah. So, we kind of think about it from a conventional wisdom standpoint. We go, bad things happen. I don't know, some magic timeline appears and then all of a sudden somebody's in crisis. And we scratch our heads and go, we have no idea what happened in between there. Well, we know what's happening in between there. Your body's massively inflamed, and inflammation is not new. We've known that inflammation is a cause of most disease, since the 90s, but we haven't had a good way of measuring it and being precise and doing it cheaply and scalable. And that's the problem that we tackled. And so now we've got a really precise tool that measures that inflammation and oxidative stress and potentially, compromise of the blood-brain barrier to let you know that, hey, your stress right now, it is killing you. It is creating disease in you. And so we're meant to be a diagnostic tool to just support clinicians to just have better outcomes. We're not the hero in the story. The folks that are on the front line dealing with mental health crisis and primary care and integrative health, those are the heroes in the story. And we just want to enable them.
So you call this a trauma autoimmune indicator. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, that's what we've trademarked the name of the test, trauma autoimmune indicator test. Correct.
Okay. And that indicator will literally measure your trauma level through a blood test. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, so the trauma itself creates the physiology. We're measuring the physiology. So think of it like from a cholesterol test, right? Like high cholesterol doesn't diagnose a heart attack any more than this diagnoses PTSD. It says your body's in a state that if you don't do anything, you have higher risk of poor outcomes. Does that make sense?
Totally.
In a cholesterol test,
now. Yes.
You don't know what caused the high cholesterol, but you're just saying, hey, you are in a situation that you've got to get under control. You're increasing your risk factors. So we're saying the same thing. We have inflammation. We don't really know what type of trauma, the duration of trauma, but your body right now is in a place where if you don't resolve it, you will continue to cause damage throughout your body and create disease.
Wow. I mean, this feels like a major paradigm shift. I mean, what kind of impact could this have on patients, providers, and even mental health systems as a whole if they're able to measure that level of physiological impact that whatever trauma may have on an individual? I mean, this seems like a game changer.
Yeah, we think so. We think so. Right now it's kind of people that are, we tend to not intervene until somebody's in crisis, right? There's a lot of time between either trauma, childhood trauma, prolonged stress, whatever it is, and crisis. There's a lot of opportunity for intervention. Unfortunately, when we get farther to the right and the chronic disease starts setting in, now you're managing symptoms as opposed to, prevention. What we're suggesting is let's reshape the paradigm, right? There is a choose your own adventure landscape of modalities, right? There's the really hardcore interventions like ibogaine, ayahuasca, MDMA assisted psychotherapy. And then you kind of come back to the things that are more, provider focused, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy, exposure therapy, EMDR. And then you come left, there's a self-soothing stuff, right? We, to be able to meditate and to breathe, break sympathetic nervous system engagement. These all have a place along this continuum, and all we're providing is the objective, evidentiary-based metric of where you sit along this continuum, so that when you try this thing and it doesn't work, maybe you need to be a little bit more invasive. Maybe, stabilize the physiology so that we can deal with the trauma, right? Because at the end of the day, we have to break our brain's tendency to see something as unsafe.
Yeah. Okay. So your test enables a patient, a provider to have an objective measure that then they can see if a program, product, what have you, is actually positively or not affecting an individual at all by having a measure. They can do something, whatever that program, product, test may be, and then do another test to see if those trauma levels have gone down. Am I understanding that?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So let's just take an example. And this was somebody where we're doing a pilot with a mental health care provider here in town. So they did, this individual, the young lady was like stuck at home, very high anxiety. And her levels were through the roof, and we would put her in a severe category. She went through 5 weeks of cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure therapy. And even though she wasn't necessarily feeling better, we could the provider could show her that, no, look, it is resolving. This is working. Stay the course. So you think about what are the biggest issues for compliance, right? Or getting help in the first place. It's stigma. It's attribution. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. But then also the fear of living trauma, right? Like people go, this sucks. I don't feel better and I don't want to do it anymore. Well, now we got that objective evidentiary based measure to be like, I know this sucks and you're doing really hard work, but it's working. Just stay the course. The brain will clear. They will clear that, neuroinflammation. You will feel better, but your body right now is healing. We can show you that. So just stay the course. And we've shown, with, everything from the cognitive behavioral therapy with some other interventions, that this stuff works, right? And it's kind of, for me, it's been really mind blowing, because even though we're in this business, like I'm still a child of the status quo, which is the brain is separated from the body. And to imagine that a physiological, just a mental health intervention is creating a massive change in physiology is really remarkable to see, like in real time.
It is remarkable, and enables people to actually see, to stay motivated, to stay the course, because, when you are creating new neural pathways and new behavior patterns, it's not easy. Yes. I mean, we want to go back to the old ways because they're familiar, they're comfortable, even though they're not doing you any good. They're safe because they're familiar. That's and right. I can definitely see, I think it's a great story and example. I mean, and your background gives you a unique perspective, on the veteran community. How could this technology change the way that we care for our service members and veterans struggling with PTSD and trauma, do you think?
I mean, we think it can fundamentally change the entire conversation. We have a crisis, in the military, and that's everybody lies, right? I mean, it is well known that you just lie, because if you get that diagnosis, your chances of remaining in service are pretty low. So people lie. And so you lie, you don't receive help, you don't receive treatment. And then people then separate and then go get help. And now they've gotten 20 years of habits, behaviors, and personality traits that are now ingrained in also with this now physiological crisis and mental health crisis. And then we expect them to go get help. And why we're seeing, continuing rates of suicide, because we can't keep doing this. So let's take the stigma out of it. Let's take the diagnosis out of it. Let's treat it as a human performance aspect. So it's like, hey, Courtney, listen, blood work came back. It looks like you got some inflammation. We're going to add a little bit of, of mindfulness to PT this morning. And hey, guess what? We need you to go see the doc because we need to work this stuff out, and it's not a shaming thing. It's just like, hey, you've got inflammation. Like nobody shames us for having high cholesterol. Let's just treat it the same way. Right? Because at that point, there is no mental health illness. There is no mental illness. It is your body's inflammation is high. Let's just get in front of that. Let's just treat the physiology. From a readiness standpoint and just warfighter readiness, I mean, all this inflammation causes issues with performance, for one, physiological performance, but also cognitive ability, all the things that the military is saying, hey, we want, our soldiers to be best possible peak performance. Well, here's a way to measure it. And oh, by the way, you're going to prevent like chronic disease and mental illness in the future. So yeah, I mean, we think that, bringing this left, taking away the stigma of some diagnosis that's not necessary when they don't have one, right? It's just the inflammation. Let's just treat the physiology. We would do it if their blood pressure was high. We would do it if their cholesterol is high. Let's just do it if their TIS score is high.
I think that's really cool to, equate it to it's simply as, or making it as common as checking your cholesterol levels. I mean, I think that is, I think that would help remove the stigma. And just like it would be for heart attacks, just like you mentioned, I think that's brilliant. And I mean, you've led in combat and in classrooms and government programs and now in biotech. What do you think, what lessons in leadership have guided you in bringing this innovation forward?
I mean, there's the cliche ones, right? Be bold, believe in yourself. I think in the team, it's important, especially in entrepreneurship, like you got to maintain to communicate the North Star, right? It's like for our team, what we're doing is important, but what they are doing for the mission is just as important, and just to remind them of just how important they are as individuals. I mean, but I think from a holistic standpoint, I learned a long time ago, and this isn't always shared, in military leadership, but I believe in leading through, transparency, vulnerability, and predictability. Like,
Leadership in the military is doing those things, you feel?
No. I would say it's not necessarily always shared.
I got it. Okay.
Right.
I see. Yes.
But I realized, with the teams that I led and in a post-military career, those things have really really paved a path for me to build really collaborative, highly effective teams. And I think that those are why. Just to be vulnerable and transparent and predictable. Cause I mean, and you go back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like if you have those things in a leadership team, like nobody is feeling at risk, right? Their safety is not at risk. Their, the basic needs, so you can keep their stress levels low so they can stay highly functioning in the flow and focus on the mission. So I mean, that's one of them. Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, what is your vision for this? Like, where are you guys, if somebody wants to get a hold of you and test this out, would they contact their provider? Is a provider reaching out to you? Is it an individual that's reaching out to you? How exactly are you guys, what's your go-to-market? Who are you targeting? And can people just measure their own trauma levels?
No, not right now. So we're not B2C, currently. So, we want to we want to empower providers, right? Give them additional tools to for better outcomes. So for right now, if folks are interested, they just need to talk to their provider and then share our website with their provider. And then we'll add them to our wait list and onboard them into the system. And it's super simple. Once you're a provider and you're in our system, you order a test. It shows up at your house, you self-administer, and then drop it in FedEx and we'll deliver the results back to your provider.
Amazing. So the provider will reach out to you. The test will be sent to the patient, the individual. Mm-hmm. They'll do the test and then they'll mail it back in, cause it's just an at-home kit. And then the provider will share the results with the individual. That's right.
Yeah. So it literally is just a box that shows up to your house, and it's a self-administered little button, and you collect about 1 milliliter of blood and just ship that back to us.
Wow. That's amazing. And then you send it back, and then you have a conversation with the provider as to what this actually means. Do you feel as though that it needs to go to the provider so that it helps educate the individual so that they don't freak out at their trauma levels? Or do you feel as though that people would know how to translate it?
So I think with the advent of, AI and machine learning and people's kind of taking control of their own health, I mean, I think that there's definitely a path there. I think ethically right now, to show someone, to be like, they're like, oh my God, these are through the roof. What am I supposed to do with this? We don't think it's ethically responsible to like let them self-navigate through ChatGPT. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do. And also, we have 20 markers that have evolved as indicators of trauma, associated with folks that have been through trauma. But these pathways are really complicated. And some of these pathways are also pathways that light up for cancer and light up for connective tissue disorders and chronic pain disorders. So to have a provider that can also, go and research these individually, if it's not showing a pattern that necessarily is necessarily something that we would say, hey, your stress level's high. It may actually be inflammatory markers for something more serious. And certainly, somebody medically trained needs to make that
decision, that call. Yeah, exactly. That totally makes sense. You're talking about it's human performance. To me, it's, the whole point of peakality is, we're all striving. We want to be a better version of ourselves, peak performers, but you're going to have obstacles along the way. And how do you get caught up in them? What would you advise someone, you've kind of joined this movement of helping people? Like, what motivated you to kind of go in this direction? And what would you advise people to do to try and help speak up and make this less of a stigma, especially in the veteran community or even active duty?
Yeah. These are some great questions. This is all very personal for me. In the mission of our the technology actually came out of, our founder was in a mass shooting. And very personal for me. When I met our founder, Joe, in 2018, I was probably at the lowest point of my PTSD journey, incredibly depressed and anxious, even suicidal. And what I've watched and just witnessed with myself and watching my levels come down and seeing, something objectively measured that shows and then the trajectory of my wellness. I'm in a great place today. I'm physically, mentally, all of it. And I've got the markers to show it. So I guess what I'll say is there is a lot of noise out there. Right. But at the end of the day, when things get really complicated, the best answers, the right answers are often the most simple. And I think, between inflammation and stress, those are the two things that are the cause of most human illness. And I think if we just pay attention to those as individuals, there's no stigma attached with either of those, right? And there's no attribution to it. We're human beings. We're never going to eliminate trauma from the world. We're never gonna, we have to place people in harm's way and to do gnarly stuff for national defense. I was reminded, with the floodings in Texas is we as a society, we are going to send people out to go look for children to return them to their parents. And they're going to go through really hard things doing that. They shouldn't have to live their life, with chronic illness after. So I think if we can separate the stigma of it being we're not good enough, we're not strong enough, whatever, and just truly treat it as a physiology and part of the human experience, let's get rid of the stigma.
Love that.
But I think that's what we need. I think we need
100%.
to have. Somebody said, we don't need more awareness of mental illness, right? We don't need to be, we know it's here. It's brutally in our face everywhere we look. We don't need more awareness. We need, I don't know, more compassion, more realization of what it really is, which is, it's part of being human and it's physiological. We can impact that.
Have you found certain tools to be more effective in this process or for you or for others? Whether it be meditation or VR technology or, different other modalities that are out there, EMDR. Have you found anything to be more effective than anything else, or do you think it just depends on the individual?
I think that's something that we get to navigate kind of together as a community that are in this space, right? There's some things that are not going to work and there's some things that are going to work. For instance, neurovascular decoupling, it's a phenomenon that happens that, the brain stops getting, blood flow. So you're when does that happen severely? And when is that going to impact somebody's ability to recover? So, I think what we're going to find is there's probably a sequence of modalities that have to deal with the physical, the emotional, and, the physiological. There's going to be something that emerges that's, probably solves 60% of our issues. But we have to look at it as the physical damage that's done to our body and our brain, as well as the physiology. For me personally, I know that back to basics is when I am not well slept, well rested, or, stress reduced, I'm a mess. I can feel all of this stuff happening, just negative stuff. So things like meditation, mindfulness, I don't think that they're something that you do as a as a fix, I think it has to be part of your daily practice, right? Just of being a human, because like we're gonna get stressed out. We have to break that so we don't damage ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's something that a lot of people are exploring, or what those different modalities are. It's like you were talking about the lady earlier who was having a hard time. And she was like, this is hard work. And I think that some people are like, okay, well, what is that work? What does that look like? How can I feel as though that, and the analogy that I use is like you have a dirty cup of water, and if you keep filling it with clean water, eventually that dirt in that water becomes clean because you're filling it with more and more clean water. So like, what is that clean water that you're flushing out, that trauma, those levels, and how that could actually, and I think that your technology really enables someone to see that clean water, like, look, it's making a difference.
Yeah.
You're feeding it, whether it's meditation, whether it's EMDR, whether journaling, whatever the case may be, that you can actually see the effects physiologically with your product. I think it's truly amazing.
So, I mean, to your point, back to basics. At the end of the day, we're just trying to get ourselves out of chronic stress.
Yeah.
And so, if you can get out of that, your immune system goes into remission, and you start healing, right? So, if we can show that, and you can stay there consistently, and keep yourself monitored, and give yourself that objective measure that, hey, what I'm doing is working. Let's stay the course. Like, you should be able to keep your immune system, from activating against your own stress.
I think it's amazing. Is there anything that you would advise an individual that, knowing where you were back in, a few years ago and at a low level, is there anything you would advise a veteran or active duty or anyone that's having a challenge right now? What would you advise them to do if in this situation? It's
not your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. Your body's doing and your brain's doing exactly what it was meant to do. Right. And, I think from that point is that you're not broken. Right. And I think that's one of the things that I've just heard a lot over the years of just like when people start giving up is they feel like they're broken and they're forever, ever going to be that way. And it's not the case. Right. It's, there traditional methodologies may not work. Western medicine may not work, but there are plenty of paths that you can get on. But we need that objective measure so we know what works for you. Right. But just don't give up.
Yeah. I think that finding the right people to communicate with, to find different modalities that they could experiment with, stick with it for a while. But I think that your technology just really enables someone to have hope, in that process of healing and motivation and I think that you're exactly right also that it's such a stigma that, we all face, especially peak performers. If you're going to grow, you have to, you're going to have adversity. You're going to have challenges in your life. And it's just a matter of finding the right tools, people that can help you bounce back from that. And I think that your technology is a game changer in understanding, well, how bad am I? And then staying motivated through the process of healing and to see those metrics actually change. I think it's a game changer for providers to prove their programs, or products. And I think it's a game changer for individuals to empower themselves to stay motivated and stay the course because they have an objective measure. That's what I think is so empowering and amazing about what you guys have created and are putting out there. And you guys have also been approved. You've got organizations that are supporting you. You've got nonprofits. You've been speaking to different Congress committees about what exactly you're doing. How about if I phrase it this way?
Yeah.
If you were talking to a 4-star general, or you were talking to the lead of the VA, or whatever organization, like what is it that you would want them to know about what you're doing and how the importance the significance,
Yeah.
and impact that it could make for, and for making them more impactful of what they're actually doing, because they're helping people heal rather than dismissing it.
Yeah.
And the ethics behind helping people heal and not having the stigma, like what is it that I think that, that you wish that your superiors knew when you were having a hard time?
Yeah. I mean, that you're not broken. Let's just get you better. Right. I mean, so, some of the special operators, leadership have said like, hey, we just want to get you better so we can put you back in harm's way. And this is the way to do it. Right. Is, for this, whether it's military, it's, it's police, it's fire, it's whoever, it's like, we've chosen these vocations because we want to serve something bigger in ourselves. We want to show up. We want to do it. We don't want to be, perceived as damaged or broken. Okay. So if we're going to go back, you get us better, and we're going to go back and we're going to serve even harder, and we're going to be even more effective. Right. If we could just get it through the common, like break through the status quo of we have to wait to crisis, and then we're going to acknowledge it, right? Just acknowledge that this is a slow thing that happens over time, and we can tackle the left side of it. I mean, that's all I'd want folks to know. It's like, we really can get in front of this.
When do you think it would be ideal for someone to test this? Is it when they come back from deployment?
No, because I don't think it's really about, what we think of as, and this is what I've realized kind of doing this work is like everybody downplays their trauma, their stress, right? It's like you've got, the youngster, oh my God, listen to me. You think
that's okay. I say youngster too. Yeah.
You got a young kid who's, getting bullied on social media, and like his brain doesn't know the difference between that perception of safety versus real safety, right? But they're going like, well, I'm not like so-and-so because, like I'm not like getting beaten or anything. Then you've got somebody who's in a domestic violence situation. It's like, yeah, but I was not like a soldier in combat. And the guy in combat's like, well, I'm not a tier 1 operator. And then everybody just downplays their trauma, right? Completely. And into a place where we don't even acknowledge that it's happening. This is just getting in front of that whole thing, right? Cause it doesn't really matter if you are so back to your question is like, when's the right time to do it? I think this is something that needs to be done regularly, like maybe with an annual physical. And then if you're going through treatment, we treat you periodically to show that there's progress. And then we continue to monitor for relapse prevention, right? Because it really doesn't matter what the cause of the inflammation is, the cause of the stress. The cause could be that, you have a parent that's dying. It could be that you have a child that's sick. It could be going through a divorce or whatever. Like, your body doesn't care. It's putting you in this stress state. It's putting you in that sympathetic nervous system engagement, and it's causing the inflammation and damage. So I would say there really is no bad time. We think this could be used really effectively, like we monitor cholesterol, right? Or we monitor any other intervention that has to do with blood tests. Even, your vitamin D is too low. You go on vitamin D, but you test again in 6 months, right? Right? You just see if the intervention worked.
Yeah. That's great. I love it. It's just like equating it to measuring, cholesterol levels. And I think it makes sense. We're not looking at the trauma levels and the inflammation of what that is doing to your body. I think that's amazing. What you're doing, the work you're doing is truly transformative. And,
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough for all that you've done and and the ways that you serve. It's amazing. Thank you so much for your service, your leadership, and for pioneering a future where trauma can be detected and treated before it really is detrimental to lives and can
Thank you,
be
Sam.
devastating very much. And we're going to put links obviously in all of our comments, social media and stuff. But is there a way that people should get a hold of you? Is there an easy way for people that you connect with most? I
mean, personally on LinkedIn, but if, from the provider standpoint, just through our website, and, become a provider, and we'll get them, onboarded and into the wait list as quick as we can.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
No, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Hey.